Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 21st regular meeting of the Harrison County Board of Education. This time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Tucker, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. We have a special recognition and presentation for the West Virginia State Department. Whoever would like to begin, I guess.
Thank you, President Vano, members of the board, Superintendent Stutler, for having us this evening. My name is Jeff Kelly with the West Virginia Department of Education. I'm Associate Superintendent of External Operations, and I have members of our accountability team here with me tonight. I have Director Kreiner from our accountability office and Ms. Heineman. We were here earlier today and met with central office staff and school-based administrators regarding the recent action of the West Virginia Board of Education. I'm going to have Ms. Kreiner come up and provide an update to the board tonight. So that's why we were asked to come on the agenda. So Ms. Kreiner, this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Alexandra Kreiner. I serve as the Director of the Office of Accountability at the West Virginia Department of Education. Our office recently conducted on-site monitoring activities in Harrison County schools. Through those reviews, several systemic concerns were identified involving governance practices, financial management and staffing, and the need for a targeted review of special education services. These findings ultimately resulted in the West Virginia Board of Education authorizing a partial state intervention. I want to emphasize that accountability reviews are not intended to assign blame or diminish the important work occurring in our schools. Rather, they're designed to identify conditions that may affect the county's ability to provide a thorough and efficient education system and to ensure that appropriate supports are put in place when concerns are identified. Throughout this process, we have continued to recognize the dedication of Harrison County's teachers, principals, service personnel, and support staff. Our observations confirmed that many professionals throughout the district remain deeply committed to serving students and families. The issues identified by the Office of Accountability are primarily systemic in nature and require attention at the organizational and leadership levels to ensure long-term stability and success. The purpose of the intervention is to improve governance and operational practices, ensure compliance with state and federal requirements, and establish a pathway toward local control through demonstrated progress and accountability. The intervention should be viewed as an opportunity for improvement, not as a judgment of the many dedicated educators working in Harrison County schools. As we move forward, the Office of Accountability will continue to work collaboratively with county leadership, the local Board of Education, administrators, and school staff. Last week, staff from the Office of Accountability met with the central office staff to establish protocols for the agenda items identified as requiring state superintendent approval. Items that have been pre-approved will appear in a separate section of the board agenda, with the remainder of the agenda proceeding as usual. Over the course of the next 3 months, the WVDE will conduct on-site reviews in at least 3 additional areas of operation. In November, we will schedule a meeting with the superintendent and board president to review the progress that has been made in addressing the identified findings. The West Virginia Board of Education is tentatively scheduled to hear an update in December of this year. The cycle will then continue with the examination of additional areas, followed by training and technical assistance to address any findings, with progress updated to the WVBE approximately every 6 months. Success will depend on transparency, adherence to established roles and responsibilities, sound stewardship of public resources, and an unwavering focus on student achievement and well-being. Our collective goal is straightforward: to ensure that every decision, every resource, and every action supports the educational opportunities and outcomes that Harrison County students deserve. We remain committed to providing guidance, monitoring progress, and supporting the county throughout this improvement process. At this time, Mr. Kelly and I are available to take any questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I just have two. I'm relatively new to this, so they're used to my newbie questions.
Okay.
But, when Mr. Cummings came, he said, according to code, the staffing pages come out in November to the county.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mrs. Stutler and her crew determine staffing issues and where we move forward. So what would be, moving forward next year, because we want to do it correctly, when should we expect those decisions to be presented to the state and to us?
Those decisions should start really in August, when you have kids in school. And I think Mr. Kelly has been through this process multiple times and can speak to it. But the sooner you start looking at your numbers and what decisions can be made, the better off that you're going to be as far as making the right decision and looking at the impact and doing everything correctly. And I'll let Mr. Kelly speak to that.
So I know staffing season occurs in the spring, but the process that contributes to that really begins soon here in August when kids start rolling through the doors. Now, your official count on student enrollment is going to be in October, but you can get in a little bit of a predictive state there in September once things have settled down as to what that might look like. Ultimately, the official number will come in October. The numbers, the overages will be calculated based on those numbers and come to the county usually in December, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there, Superintendent. And then subsequently, you make those decisions on staffing in the staffing season in the spring. So the other piece of that is that you're going to have student enrollment decline even beyond October 1. So you kind of got to keep that in mind as you're moving through that process as well, although you're still basing your decisions on the data from the October 1 and then the overages that you get in December.
And I just have one other question.
Sure.
So based on what I saw and what I've read and then what I saw on here, employees with 200-day contracts, Mrs. Stutler will bring that to us and we vote on the 200-day contracts, but Mrs. Stutler and the state will decide over 200-day contracts.
Yeah, so
correct?
anything that might come onto the agenda relative to a 200-day employee would just be business as usual for you guys. Anything that rises above that, we would pre-approve. And that could be a new hire, that could be the elimination of a position, transfer, anything of that nature. 200 will remain the same, 200 plus, we will pre-approve.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's all for me.
Okay.
Procedurally, when we get to the state board-approved items, how is that to be handled?
At that juncture, Superintendent Stutler will just state that the items in that portion of the agenda were previously approved by the state superintendent of schools in her acting capacity of the board for those specific items. We went through a little bit of a discussion and a process there to discuss how we wanted to look at that, and we felt it was easiest if we just box those in one portion of the agenda. Superintendent can speak to that briefly, doesn't have to read those. I think everybody can see them. They're pretty cut and dry. Obviously, something that has been approved in that box of items, if you all have questions, you can always work through Superintendent Stutler back through us or through her to us, and we can provide any answers to questions you might have on those items. But I don't anticipate at this juncture a lot of questions on those items, but you may very well have some.
Okay. The other question that I had was in regard to agenda presentations. I know that the board has 3 members that can vote to put something on an agenda, and the president could put something on the agenda as well. How is that going to be handled?
So once the agenda comes to us for pre-approval, we try to get that 10 days in advance. That gives us quite a bit of time in case there are things that need to be added after the fact, and then obviously get it out to the public. But the superintendent is going to present that agenda to us just like she would in general to you guys. Generally speaking, we don't pull items off those agendas that we review unless there's I can't even think of a reason off the top of my head that we might pull one, and Alex may or Lisa may, but if there's something that we have a question about, we usually just work back through the superintendent and say, can you explain what this is to us? I know we talked earlier this afternoon about the property, for example, that's on the agenda tonight. And we just talked about, what is it, what's the background, and what's the path forward, and she explained all that to us. So we didn't really have any reservations, but every once in a while we'll ask for clarification. And if there's something that we feel like might need to be tabled to a later date, we will let you guys know and explain why we think it needs tabled. We may just need more time to review it because our team members back at the department dive pretty deep into those situations, especially those high-cost items. They'll make sure that all the language is where it needs to be on those contracts. So
Okay.
I hope that answers your
Mr.
question.
Hug? Yeah, it did, thank you. Mr. Hug, did you have a question?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Doug Hogue, my question is, Harrison County is one of the larger counties in the state,
Mhm.
and if you look at all the large counties in the state, you have a superintendent and an assistant superintendent, which picks up if the superintendent's not available, or, is something personal or anything comes into their life, I think there has to be somebody there that she trusts and that can pick up any questions or feedback or fallout.
Need a number two.
Right.
Okay.
Number two. And for whatever reason, after our assistant superintendent retired, we chose, for whatever reason, not to replace the assistant superintendent. And I just feel like this could be part of the situation which has caused us to maybe, fall into some areas that we didn't, want to fall into. And if there's things that need to be done, I feel, who has the right, does the superintendent have a right to just appoint somebody as her assistant?
And I'm understanding that position currently does not exist, so that would have to be created and approved. And which we would do that because that would be a plus 200 or a 200+ position.
Right.
I can tell you that the structure of the organization is something that we will examine. I'm not going to tell you right now that I think that that's a fantastic idea or a terrible idea. We'll have to look and see what the scope of the construct is there. And it may be very well that we come back and say, you know what, we do need somebody in that position. Now, the other side of that is you got to look at the impact of the financing of that position in comparison to the overall cost of the entire organization's workforce. So, it might be a situation where you eliminate one position to create that position, or maybe you can absorb that position for 1 year until we get into staffing season. So those are the types of things that we will examine really immediately, because we'll start mapping out things. And what I will say is if I would agree with you, or our team agrees with you and feels like it's necessary to add that position, or an extra English teacher at a school, for example, if any of those things come to light, we're going to examine them and weigh them out, and we may be willing to do that now, or we might be waiting to do it until staffing season arises. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just feel like a county this big and with so many things going on, so many programs going on, and she has her personnel, her staff members in place that do a great job. She does a great job, but at the same time, she's only one person, and sometimes even she needs help.
I understand.
And I just think that it's foolish for us not to have an assistant superintendent
Okay,
in place.
appreciate that.
That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Roger that.
All right? Thank you.
What was the difference between, what was the reasoning or the point in separating the 200 days, leaving them with the board versus the 250, leaving them with the superintendent and state superintendent?
Well, number one, we had to have, And the superintendent now reports directly to the state superintendent. So we started discussing that piece, and then, we're going to get to staffing season. And historically, what we probably would have done is, historically, we've done full takeovers. In this case, you've obviously seen we've not done that. We kind of individualized this plan, and probably the first time we've done it that way, at least since my time. I think we probably wanted you guys to have a little bit of skin in the game whenever we get to staffing season. And so you're going to have that with the 200-day employees, whereas we're going to have the central office staff. It'll also allow us to work a little more closely with the central office staff and our various offices and personnel, finance, all of those various offices as we go through these monthly reviews, for example, with special ed that will be coming up. It'll allow us to have more interaction, I think, with those folks and more autonomy over them at the central office and school-based administrative levels. So I think there were a couple moving pieces there, but those were kind of the two things that I think led us to that end.
Okay. What would the process, when it comes down to staffing season, what's the process going to look like then at that point?
It won't look any different than it has for you guys. The recommendation for any decisions relative to staffing will come from the superintendent as usual. They'll be on an agenda. Obviously, any of the items relevant to 200-plus day employees would be approved by us, and the 200-day employees would be approved by you guys. So you'll still have that autonomy on that subsection of staff.
I'm just a person that I spent 36 years in the classroom, through coaching, administration, and everything, and then had to retire due to some health issues, and still wasn't ready to retire, but I did. And after a couple of years, I got on the Board of Education. I've now been on the Board of Education here in Harrison County for 14 years, and I have 2 years left on this term. I do it because of my grandchildren. I still want to have, be in the game and all. So this is one way that I can help not only my grandchildren, but all the other children in Harrison County, plus our teachers and what have you, by serving on the board. Because it's such a high-profile job and everybody wants it. And
I don't know if everybody wants it.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a board member. But I'm one of those that, for whatever reason, and it's been pointed out, mistakes made, that I'm one of these that and I never claimed to be perfect. I always said there was only one that was perfect, and he hung on the cross. So I know I'm not perfect. And if I make mistakes, and all through the years, I've made plenty of mistakes, if I make a mistake, I end up basically getting taken to the woodshed, to get that mistake straightened out. And myself, I personally would feel better and I feel more honored if Doug Hogue makes a mistake and you see the mistake or you know the mistake, that you let me know, man to man, that, hey, you did this wrong and you need to correct that. Because, like I said, you can't make it right if you don't know what you're doing wrong.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'll say this to you guys, and I know these are tough situations, but, we're going to be in solution development mode on this, okay? And we could probably dig back 2 years, 4 years, 6 years and talk about mistakes in this county or any other county, okay? Because, like, to your point, nobody's perfect. Things happen. We know where we got to go. We're not going to focus too heavily on what's in the rearview mirror.
Right.
We're certainly not going to sit up here and start pointing fingers at people and name calling. And I know that happens sometimes when these things occur. And I would encourage people not to do that. This is not a time for that. This is a time to have a little bit of a reset, Let's get everybody in line, let's move forward and target some successful paths, and let's execute them and try to do so in a timely fashion. Now, personnel's a little bit hard because you can only do it one time a year, but I think you know what I'm talking about. We could start early on with our assessment and establishing what our plans are moving towards that end. So, and I'm happy to talk to you or any of the other board members one-on-one at any juncture. We get calls from not only citizens and employees across the state, but we get calls from board members quite frequently too, who just want to talk through things. So we're always available for calls on that front as well. And I'm happy to talk to you man to man if that's what you want to, if you want to have that.
I'm not a big phone guy. I always said, my grandfather always told me, you know, I'd rather talk to you face to face.
I can do that
look you
too.
in the eyes.
I can do that too.
And, you know, if I have a question or something I need answered, I'd rather do it that way than.
Well, you're going to have to call and let me know first. I'm not just going to show up. So you give me a call and let me know when you want to meet, and I'll be happy to provide you some of my time.
Sounds fair to me.
Okay.
But, anyway, like I say, you always gotta be able, at the end of the day, you gotta be able to look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Did I do my job? Did I do the right thing? And that's what I'm hoping to be able to do.
Sure
This
thing.
all works itself out.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? No? Will you be with us at every meeting?
No,
Okay.
no. Obviously, if there's a reason that you all feel we need to be here for something, you can request that. We're happy to come up and attend. Otherwise, it'll be kind of minus that one section on the agenda. It'll be business as usual for you guys as far as board meetings go.
Okay. What can we do to help? Or,
Well, I think what you'll see here, and I'll say this about, you know, the items that Director Kreiner was speaking of, especially when we look into special ed, and then, what were the other two?
Well, we have finance,
Yeah.
personnel, transportation. There'll be lots of different areas that with instruction throughout the course of the next, school year.
So when we come, there's no county in this state, when they go through those analyses, that is perfect. Nobody's 100 out of 100 on anything. So when we find things, we will work back through the superintendent and say, you know, we've discovered these things in special ed, or we've discovered these things in finance, and we'll just make a corrective action plan. Some of those things may rise to your level. There may be things that are agenda items that need addressed by the board, and if so, you guys can support in that way. I mean, we're not going to bother you guys with things that don't pertain to a board agenda, obviously, but if there are things that rise to that level, we'll make you guys aware through the superintendent. And like I said, if you guys have questions in the meantime, you can certainly reach out if you feel like there's something maybe that you need to do or want to do.
I did have one more question pertaining to delegations, but I don't know that that's something that we can ask that, talk about that later.
Delegations will be
Yeah, same.
business as usual. I don't recall us having any issues with your delegations. So, but if you have a question in the future, feel free to reach out. Anybody else? I thank you all for providing a little bit of your time tonight. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we do not have any delegations this evening. Next, we have our superintendent's update.
Sure. I have several things. The first thing I'd like to tell you is a shout out. We had 13 students return back to us from Hope Scholarship, so they're back on our rolls and enrolled in our schools. So we thought that was a positive thing when we got that report for those 13 students. Also wanted to update you, ESY was a success. Our students finished the week at Splash Zone, and I think they had a good time. And then our summer school also concluded with our kindergarten through 12th grade, and our focus really this summer was on ELA and math. We took a lot of the fluff out, so we did ELA and math, and then our older students and high school students worked on credit recovery. So we'll get you those numbers on how many credits were actually recovered over this, for that period of time and get you some more numbers on that. But it was very successful. I just want to send a shout out to the staff that worked the summer. That's always not an easy thing, and we post those jobs and they fill, and we had a great staff that came and accomplished that and worked with us. So thank you to anybody out there that finished the summer program, and hope that you get a couple weeks to enjoy before you're back in the swing of things with our regular school year. We had our principals meeting. We started today. They're kind of all back in their buildings. It was very productive. Each one of the department heads had a chance to speak with our principals. We had our assistants in, and then I also want to thank the State Department for addressing our principals. I think they answered some questions and relieved their minds a little bit on what this is going to be. It's a good step forward, and we're going to be positive with it, and we're going to do what we need to do to correct the ship. And so I think they had some good questions today, so I appreciate our admins. We also, the rest of central office came in and was part of that discussion. So thank you for doing that today and having everybody in the room so they could ask questions. Also, just to update you, we're talking about the agenda. We've been working with them. It seems to be a smooth process. So far, the departments are sending items to me that meet the criteria that need to be state approved. And so those are coming to me. We're sending them. It seems so pretty seamless right now, and they are sending back asking for additional information. We're providing that, and then we'll get those on the agenda. If there's something that's questionable, we'll just hold it for the next agenda if it's not something that's an emergency. So appreciate all that support so far, and we're looking forward to just moving on and taking care of business. We had some updates today from our technology person, and I think you need to know the mapping system that's required in code for our schools is, they've been in, they've visited all of our schools, so we're meeting that deadline, and the training on the software, I believe, Todd, you're doing with the principals at the end of this week, so they can understand how that is going to work in their buildings, that GPS system. So that's a big deal. It was required, and we're getting that done. Also, the Siemens system that you guys so graciously paid for security for our schools, that training is also going to happen with our secretaries. So we're just seeing good, finally getting to where we're buying some good stuff. We just need to make sure it's working, Todd. Make sure we're getting what we need out of it. So appreciate that. So we had a chance to tell all of our principals and admins about that today. Another big thing coming up is we got 2 days of finance training. They got some of that today. So we'll get more of that with our secretaries and central office staff, just to get them on board. There's a lot with finance. I was a school principal for a long time and admin. It's changed a lot since I've even been there, and seeing it from this level, you see it from, whole county. It's a lot. And we have some pretty veteran principals that maybe have never really had to deal with some of the things that they're coming across now. So appreciate the training. I think they appreciated it today, even though it was 3:30 and it was the end of the day, so they'll get a fresh start tomorrow on the finance. The other update is tomorrow they're getting legal updates with Howard Sufer first thing in the morning, and some additional finance. So I think it's been very productive, and we're just glad to have them back. It's hard to believe. We just left, and we told them today, it's hard to believe that you're already back and busy. A lot of them have been working, but so it's exciting to have them in today. We are going to continue our monthly newsletter that goes out to the staff. So the department heads will be putting together some things as information's coming for this partial intervention, things that we need to communicate to the staff. So we reiterated today that if you're listening and you're an employee, please make sure you're logged into your K-12 accounts and you're getting those. We're going to do it once a month, and we started it last year, and we can put anything on there, shout outs, department messages. We are uploading the spending freeze because I think there were questions as to what was in it and what that involves, so we're going to get that on there and get that sent out to our employees. I think it's also on our website, so anything that we hear that we're not getting out there, we're going to get that information out. to our
Can you send
employees.
those to the board members, because I wasn't getting it. I still have my K-12, which I forward
It's
to my
not coming to
personal.
your K-12?
No, because
Can
I
we
have
add
it
their
forwarded.
Can we add their accounts, David, so they can get that?
Yeah, I'll
The
definitely
5
have
of
the
them?
email.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
so, and we try to do employee shout outs on that. So anybody out there that has anything want to say about an employee, and I think the first one, Mr. Oliveri to put on there is our summer school workers. Please put a shout out on there for them. That's all I have. Well, Mr. Kozick was going to update us on the building,
Well, we got a little bit of a
other than the
flood
leak,
downstairs.
the flood downstairs.
I've got some people coming in to hopefully get that up. Got the pumps reset, they're working now, so should take care of that. What's going on in the county with facilities and transportation? As was reported the last board meeting, there's still a lot of floor stripping and waxing going on. It looks like we're gonna be pretty caught up by the time school starts. I visited West Milford, South Harrison, Bridgeport Middle, and a few others this past week, and the schools are really looking good. Matter of fact, I had a principal tell me today, she can't believe how quickly things are getting done. From mulching the playground to painting, we asked for painting work orders at the end of the school year, and we had one principal that was late, and I said, we'll do what we can, and they've already been there and done it. So that really makes me feel good that they're staying on things like that. The Simpson Playground is coming along nicely. Our other folks that have volunteered to help, they've started coming in and helping do some work. Our work there is almost just about done, except for the final touches. We had to tear up a lot of concrete at Big Elm. It's a big job, and it took about four men several days, jackhammering everything out and putting it back. They've got about half the pour done now, but again, that'll be complete by the time school starts. We did add some drainage at West Milford on the outside. I guess we'll see now how well it works, because there was some water infiltration into some pre-K classrooms, and it hurt some carpet in there. We put new carpet in pre-K, 2 pre-K rooms and 2 kindergarten rooms that we had on hand. It wasn't an extra purchase that we had to buy, and the teachers are really happy about that. We have started our work with MCOR on HVAC. There's a lot of things that the tech is doing. He's finding out a lot of things that were, I'd say, tweaked in the past, but not done absolutely correctly. He's a very good diagnostic technician, and he's really teaching the 2 guys that we have. He's teaching them a lot as we go through this. But again, the whole idea is to get him into the mode of doing nothing but service and preventive maintenance, and keeping our equipment running for as long as we can, full well knowing that it's old and we're gonna have to come up with a plan on how we're gonna replace that over the next several years. So that's gonna help us. I've been pretty happy with them so far. I've been approached by a cell tower company. And it's something we can discuss later, but I did want to bring it up. They are very interested in putting a cell tower at RCB campus as well as the Liberty campus. I haven't called them back yet. I felt it was something that we as a team needed to mull over first before it's something we wanted to do. There will be no cost to us, probably even a little bit of money on the side that they would pay us for the use of our property. And the last thing we're working on, we're gonna have to tweak transportation a little bit, talk to some of our bus drivers. I've got 5 new subs. I had 5 people retired, and just recently, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 bus drivers resign. So I'm down 7, I've got 5, and all the other subs are working. So we're gonna have to come up with some plans on how we're gonna deal with that. I think in the future, as we heard, when we start looking at September and October, I think we really need to scrutinize our routes and figure out what we can do, what we can't do, and make some decisions based around that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Did you have a UTC update? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, last week we had our first UTC meeting for the year. It wasn't a very long meeting, but Denver Burnside, board member from Doddridge County, was reelected as the president. And then they really went down, scraped the bottom of the barrel for the vice president, and they appointed me as the vice president for the Career Center for the next couple of years. Biggest thing on our agenda was the, wanting to start a sports medicine class, and we thought we was out ahead of it. We've been talking about the last couple of meetings, but it's come down that they're having a hard time finding somebody fully certified that wants to take on the position, or they only want to take on the position half-time, which doesn't work out. So he was going to put it on hold, but he did say that he had a young lady that was in classes to become a full-time certified athletic trainer and to be able to teach it, but she will not finish until October. So the lady from the State Department was on meeting with us, even though the young lady has a teaching degree. She's told us that she could serve as a substitute teacher in the field until she completes her overall training in October and takes her test and gets certified. And like I say, they're looking to try and get this program off the ground. And so they're going to send out to the schools and, make that offer of these classes. And they'd like to get, hopefully 6 to 12 students to want to get this program started. And the only other thing is that we hired a Kathy Fury, is going to provide teaching services for the LPN computer class, and that'll be this summer, July 13th through the 17th, which is now passed, and she was going to do it not to exceed more than 23 hours, and they had several that had signed up for that class this summer. And other than that,
All
that's
right.
pretty much it.
Thank you, Mr. Hoag. I forgot to say thank you to Hope Gas for sponsoring our lunch today. So we appreciate that for our admins that were here. Now we're going to move on to the state superintendent approved items. She's acting in capacity of the board, and you'll see those items under number 6. That's been already state approved. Thank you,
All right.
President Bono.
Move on to consent items. Is there a motion to approve consent items as presented by the superintendent?
I so move.
Is there a second? Is there a second for consent item approvals?
Second.
Second it.
Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. No new business, no old business, no policy updates, personnel matters. Is there a motion to approve personnel as presented by the superintendent
There was one
with the
substitute,
removal
yeah,
of Martini Jacobs off the removal of the West Virginia Learns substitute list?
yeah. We had her on there because of she didn't sign her contract. She came in today and spoke with Rebecca and signed her contract. So we're going to put her back on.
I need to recuse myself in regard to Emma Kirkpatrick on the personnel sheet, due to, she's extending her maternity leave till in December. She just had a surgery not too long ago, and so
Okay.
she has to extend it.
So let's restate the motion to approve the personnel agenda with Mr. Hoag's recusal and the removal of Martini Jacobs. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to property matters. Is this open discussion, or will this be requiring an executive session?
you asked to have that put on the agenda for discussion,
Mhm.
so I believe you were looking at, the question was the last time, getting it out to auction.
Yeah.
That's what brought it on the agenda.
Well, and some information has been published in the newspaper. I'm thinking maybe we need to go in executive session because there's one idea floating around that wasn't published. And I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss in public.
Well, then if there would be a motion to, property motion would be appropriate to go into executive session?
I move pursuant to 69A49 of the West Virginia Code that the board go into executive session to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition, which, if made public, might adversely affect the financial or other interest of Harrison County Board of Education.
Property motion has been made to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We will be in executive session. Return from executive session.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're back in regular session. This was not an actionable item, so we'll move on to board member comments. Mr. Tucker.
I don't have any, thank you.
Mr. Hoag.
I'd like to thank everybody who's here tonight and everybody out there in TV land. Come out, and you're welcome to come to any of our board meetings. We have nothing to hide, and I'd like to also thank the State Department for coming up and, you know, telling us where we're at, what we're looking at, because, you know, everybody wants to, you know, panic, they call, you got people calling you, you know, what are you in trouble for, what'd you do wrong, this way here, you come up, you explained it, it'll get out in the paper, and, you know, we're going. And like I always said, I don't think the State Department has anywhere to bury their dead, so, you don't have a big graveyard, so.
Mr. Hoag. Thank you. All right.
So,
Ms. Smith.
Anyway, thank you, and you're welcome anytime.
Ms. Smith.
My dad always said, Mary Frances, don't talk, just sing, but I'm not gonna do either tonight.
All right. Dr. Santilli.
Yeah. Just thinking of all our employees that have been working all summer and the ones that just came back very recently, and thinking about the people that are going to be coming in August, and just prayers for a successful and safe year for our students, staff, families.
Thank you. I have no comments. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you.